Some call it the matrix, the fractal holographic universe of illusions, the simulation that we're all living in, where avatar bodies embody this reality because we understand that consciousness is not created by your brain. Some call it the paper genocide. Some call it the World Economic Forum. But the real question isn't the old methods, and the real question isn't what of these things are true, because all of them are true. The question isn't, are we enslaved and don't know it? The question is, what are the tools that have been utilized for centuries to do such a thing as this? These systems were not built overnight. I see so many people talking about the banking system, so many people talking about the fiat currency system, so many people talking about the educational system, so many people talking about the genocides that have gone on and are currently going on. But I want you to understand that these things did not happen overnight. The planning is more intricate. It is very detail oriented, and in many ways you're still being finessed and don't even know it. So I'm here to bring awareness to that today. I want you to stay tuned in and locked in. So listen, we're going to start with genealogy, right? Because when ancestry.com came out, when 23andMe hit the scene, people were so excited. People were so excited, especially the black people of America. The melanated beings all over the world were so excited, but especially the black people in America were extremely excited to find what? Their ancestry. They were excited to finally have something on a piece of paper that connects them to what they have been told, which is that they are from the continent of Africa. So many of them go on to take this test, give up their DNA, and they're told they get the good news that the 30% West African, 10% European, 9% Spanish, on and on. Now, the issue with genealogy tests is that these genealogy tests represent less than 0.01% of your total DNA. It is less than 1% of your entire lineage. Let's just break it down like that. I want you to understand that after 8 generations, you have almost 300 grandparents in your lineage. It doubles each generation. So after 8, you have almost 300, and that doubles very, very quickly. So I want you to understand that the entire genealogy play that they played on your mind extremely well. I mean, this even happened to individuals in my lineage. It's been a very, very calculated game that they've been playing, and I want you to understand that these things are not accurate. A genealogy test will not hold up in courts. No, it will not. Not as in reference to your ancestry, no. Because it's less than 1% of your total DNA. I need you to understand that, because it's important that we get these foundations set in stone for my later conversation with you guys. The genealogy tests are not accurate. By no means are they accurate. And I would argue that the releasing of them and them saying that it's 99% accurate and this and that, it's all a play on words, and it's all a finesse of the mental, because we must understand that an advanced game of mental manipulation is in play. And when we look at ancestry.com, and I didn't want to put all of the sources and all that stuff. I'll go way more in depth in some later content, but I want you to understand we're just going to keep this one quick and simple. You can do your own due diligence. Ancestry.com came from people that are not trustworthy in the first place. But let's move on. Let's move on to our next point. So I want it to be understood that a paper genocide most certainly did take place in more ways than one. So let's take a look at this article right here. So what we have here is the census records destroyed in Washington fire. And it says here, priceless census records dating back to 1790, when the first census essentially was conducted, were destroyed in a fire. Now, the 1790 census was destroyed in a fire. That's why, if people like me have been looking into, because I was looking into my own lineage, and I was trying to figure out, why can I not go past a certain date in the census record. And then that's when I stumbled upon the information that information is gone. We don't have access to that information because it was lost in a fire. Now let's move on to our next piece here. So now we have eugenics. Eugenics, the methodology of the paper genocide, the foundation of all intricate mental manipulation. I want you to understand that eugenics is a term that was created by Charles Darwin and other first genealogists, essentially, other men like himself. And they proposed the idea that natural selection took place and survival of the fittest. And if we dive into this picture right here, you will see words that tie back to everything: religion, sociology, history, everything. Because the reality is, eugenics was the tool in which they used to facilitate their paper genocide. Eugenics were the tool in which they used to propagate their propaganda. I want you to understand that eugenics was the rationale behind their own preservation, of their own race, of their own ideology, of what they said that it was. But that doesn't mean that's what it was. And the reality is that this is the foundation of all mental manipulation going on within the current people of America that we see today. This is the mental manipulation that we currently see going on in the continent of Africa that we see today. This is the current mental manipulation that we see going on in South America today. The eugenics doctrine lives on. It's many years, hundreds of years old at this point. And the idea itself is one that you must dive into. And, I'm not going to stay too long on it, but I just really need us to understand and get that foundation that eugenics is the tool for which the paper genocide took place. Now, we're going to go on to my next point. My next point is this: why did a paper genocide happen? Why were things being documented that were contrary to what we said it was, our ancestors said it was, and what was going on at that time? It's contrary because they never thought that we would be able to read. And this ties back to eugenics because their belief in superiority allowed them to do things that were unthinkable, allowed them to write down things that were unthinkable, allowed them to neglect certain areas of history, which is, to us now unimaginable. And they did this, and they were able to get away with this for so long because they're still getting away with it now because of the simple fact that they never thought that we'd be able to read. We were never supposed to be able to read. That's why they did what they wanted to. That's why they wrote down things the way they wanted to write them down. And this transcends racial history. This transcends even the topic that we're discussing at this current moment, the Americas. This goes all the way back, hundreds of thousands of years, right? Why do so many people refuse to go and read what the Egyptians had to say for themselves? So many people refuse to go and look at the documents of the cuneiform that they can read themselves. And instead, they want to read these things that make no sense, because we must understand that history is simply just his story. It's a story that they wanted to tell. But when you go back to your ancestors, they tell you the story. There's no need for speculation. The truth is in plain sight. To be a truth seeker is not to find hidden archive documents. We're not going to the bottom floor of the Vatican. We don't have special access that anyone else doesn't have. A truth seeker simply puts common sense together and understands that the truth is always in plain sight. We must understand that we cannot take everything as fact. And in fact, to be a truth seeker, to be one that truly wants to think outside the box, a truly intellectual man, you must understand that your first step is to reject everything you were ever told, because it will be the simplest things that you accept that build onto the next idea, that build onto the next idea, that build onto the next idea, all simultaneously stripping you from your true identity in the first place. What do I need to go back to the other slide? I need you guys to listen to what I'm saying. The foundation of all intricate mental manipulation. The game was not played simple. No, the domination was not even of the physical. The domination and mental manipulation happened all inside the minds. The manipulation happened deep within the mind, and it still happens today. Because, like I just told you guys, accepting the baseline facts, which we'll get into at a later date, but at a later time within this, accepting the baseline facts allow them to build upon the next idea, and then build upon the next idea, and then build upon the next idea when they were thinking 10 generations ahead in the first place. The game that they're playing is nothing like what you guys think it is. A lot of you guys very much underestimate the powers that be. You very much underestimate the intellectual powers that be. Their mind is far more advanced than what you guys give them credit for. You guys need to really accept and understand that, this game that has been being played for a long time is a game that they've been playing the long game the whole time. So they've already planned out what's happening right now. See, that's the misconception, right? The whole his story thing, I've heard other people say this and all of that, but his story for today's time has already been written out. They've already written what's going to happen in this time period. They've already pre-established the way that it's going to happen and function. They did that long ago for right now. So I need you to understand that for you to truly take power back, you must understand that the game is not being played as we speak. The game was played 30, 40, 50 years ago. For today's world, at least. They're not even on right now anymore. They're on 100 years from now. You must understand that. And I also want to touch on the point that they never thought that we would read, right? That's why the truth is often in plain sight, because just reading the documentation, and to be truthful, you guys don't read now. Most of you guys have the ability to read and don't read, but most of the documentation says what's happening and what has happened and their projection for what is going to happen in plain sight. It's all in plain sight, but because they never thought that we were going to read, that's why they did it that way. That's why they wrote things that were contrary to what they were told and what they knew was true. They created their own truth. They created history. They created his story. So I need you to understand that if you were to go back in time right now and tell one of the forefathers of the Americas, or even go to Europe before they even came over here, right, and describe what we're doing right now, describe men like myself, that are sitting up here looking at a camera, articulating to you, reading documentation to you, they would never believe you. That would never even occur in their mind to be a thing that could exist. So that's the reason why things are in plain sight. And many of you guys also are under the illusion of the mental manipulation that they gave you. The game they're playing is just so cold that the truth could be right there. I could provide documentation to you guys right now of what the truth is, and you will reject it. Malcolm X has a famous quote. I believe it goes along the lines of, when introducing the truth to a black man, you must do it slowly. You must do it slowly. I don't remember the quote word for word, but you guys can type that in Google and it'll pull it up. But he was saying you must do it slowly because he has been so brainwashed that he will reject the truth if not done slowly. You must first let him digest it piece by piece and then introduce the next piece. So, but moving on. Now, this leads me to my next point, though, which is the term African American. African American is the term that many of us, grew up on. And I remember from a very young age, being in middle school, looking at filling out one of my own surveys, and that is what the term was on there. It was just something on the inside of me that just didn't sit right, And I remember talking to some other individuals, and I remember somebody describing, I heard a white person describe someone as African American when talking about them. And I remember feeling slightly offended, and I expressed that to some older individuals I was around at that time. And they said that I was in my mind, I was like, I articulated, I would have rather them said black, and they were like, no, that's not correct. The term would be African American. But here's the thing. The term African American was only listed to be that term, on a national federal level in 1988. And that was not the popular opinion, despite this type of news propaganda right here that we're looking at, where it makes it seem like that's what the majority of black people wanted. There were many, black people that did not want that, the term African American. And it blows my mind that prior to 1988, that was not the term. So that means that the idea of the African American was a new idea in general. But my question is this. If we're going off the theory, right, that we were all not from this land, not from the land of America, if we're going off of that theory, then why is the African American the only one that has their home nation, apparently, before the American? We don't hear German American. We don't see that on a job application. We don't see British American on a job application. We don't see any of that. Irish American, Italian American. We don't see any of that. So I want you to really think about, why is it that they have wanted us to blindly, and why are you guys blindly accepting the term African American? What are they hiding from us? Is the question, because we're the only group that they choose to give that term to. And that's something that we should really put on our minds, because it's you guys blindly accept things. And that's what I'm talking about. You must reestablish truth in every endeavor, every foundation, every aspect, analyze everything. Because I want you to understand that simple things like this is how the doors of indoctrination get opened, blindly accepting this term. Now let's move on. I want it to be understood that aside from the paper genocide that's going on, simultaneously there are real genocides going on as well. We have the self-governing Tulsa, Oklahoma community, famously known as Black Wall Street, with schools, hospitals, businesses, mansions. They had their own currency that they were using. Highly successful, highly established, and it was all destroyed. The National Guard even took place in it. So a lot of people talk about that, but they don't talk about it to the extent in which it really took place. They don't talk about the fact that the National Guard was sent in. The actual National Guard, they were there doing these atrocities as well. Not just the mob of white individuals and the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah, all of that was taking place, and they started it, but the National Guard came in and did their thing too. So that really shows what was going on during that time. Now, they want us to believe, right? They want us to believe, and we've been indoctrinated so heavy to believe that the slave is us. The poor African is us. The gangbanger and thug is us. The athlete is us. Well, I'm here to tell you guys that no, none of this is us. No. You must reject this idea today. This is us. This is what they don't show. This is what they don't talk about. I'm gonna just let you guys sink in on this for a second. I want everyone to really look at this. We got Mansa Musa. We got the natives of South America. We got the natives of the Americas. We got the Egyptians, right? So this is us. This is the depiction of what we are. And I want you to understand that, they have purposely denied us of this image. They purposely denied you of this. It's all been a strategical game that has been played on purpose. And I want you to understand that we built this. Our ancestors took place in building these monuments that we can't even understand today. The pyramids, Teotihuacan, the mounds. You know, they took part in building these things that we see today. And I want you to understand that, you know, they say that so humanity is essentially on about a 6,000 year run right now. But these artifacts prove that, you know, civilization in past times was way more advanced. The pyramids are 36 to 58,000 years old. And, you know, I could do a whole video just on the pyramids alone about what they do. But the point I'm making right now, right, and Teotihuacan, we don't know really how old it is. They say it's 600 years old, but there are some different artifacts in Egypt. Not only is it similar, but there are some different artifacts there that prove and can attest to it being around the same time period. So with that being said, I want you to understand that no, I'm not a archaeologist. I'm not a historian. I'm just a truth seeker and a knowledge seeker, and a man at that. You know, so a warrior as well. So I want you to understand that it doesn't take a whole lot of time to take in this information. Like it doesn't. You just got to make it. It all makes sense when you put it together like this. You know. So where am I going with this? You know, I also want to understand when we touch on the natives. Here's the thing about the natives, right? The Yamasee tribe of Florida. Well, the Yamasee tribe was bigger than that, but the Seminoles and all of that, you guys can really just type in Yamasee tribe, and you'll see this man, the chief of the Yamasee tribe right now, Chief Sekou, I believe I'm saying his name correctly. He will explain to you what took place. But they found artifacts, right, that are predating the land bridge theory, because as you guys might be familiar with, the land bridge theory is that all natives to America came on a land bridge around 14,000 years ago from Siberia, I do believe. And the artifacts they found in Florida, because Florida used to be twice as big as what it is today, the artifacts that were found in Florida, you guys can look this up, are predating this land bridge, proving that people were already here. Now, when we look at the skin tone, let's take a look at the skin tone of this full-blooded chief. His lineage is certified. He is a full-blooded Yamasee tribal chief. You know, so I want us to understand that when we blindly accept the terms like African American, when we just don't look into our history about what's going on here. And I want you to understand that I'm making connections to all of this stuff, and you got to just stay in tune. But I need you to understand that we are not looking at what they told us that we were looking at. Because believe it the way that they say it, his story is that civilization is 6,000 years old, that the Europeans essentially conquered all. You know, they led the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s, which they got the tools and stuff from. They got the land from the natives here in America. They got the resources from the continent of Africa, having the I forget what it's called, but they had the convention of all the countries came together with not an African country, and they divided up their lands, did what they wanted to with it, took what they wanted to from it. In fact, if we go to the companies that own the mines, that build these phones, these computers, all this technology, they have to have a certain metal from the mines. You will realize that these companies are still owned by the Europeans. So they're still running the same play that they've been running for a long time. I want you to understand that when we look at things the way they really are, instead of his story, which is what I just described, we realize that we're looking at the remnants of an ancient civilization. We're looking at the remnants of an international civilization. International. We're looking at the remnants of an international civilization that did not operate on the confines of these lines that we are currently seeing today. I need you to understand that. I need you to understand that we did not always operate this way. And you know, it's not what I say. This is not my personal opinion at all. This is documented from archaeologists from a long time ago. And you know, we can pull up the artifacts. In fact, if you go to my community tab right now on the YouTube channel, you will find some of the books and stuff that I get this information from. But it's not my opinion. It's already proven that the Mayans had to have had contact with the Egyptians. It's already proven that the natives of Americas had to have contact with the Egyptians as well. They all had contact with each other. That's already proven. Not only are their structures similar, not only similar, like when you really dive into the math of the structures, we're talking about the pyramids of Giza are, you know, the Teotihuacan pyramids are a direct replica of that. In fact, I believe that the serpent one is 50% the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza. But I need you to understand that not only that, but they're aligned to the same star constellations. These societies were in contact with each other. This was an international civilization, an international operation. It was not separated by the confines of these lines that we see today. It was not separated by the confines of the currencies that we see today. It was not separated by the confines of the wars that we see today. It was not separated by the confines of the ideologies and religions that we see today. And this was way, way, way back then. So when you don't listen to his story and you develop your own understanding for what has taken place just by simply reading, then you will understand a much, much better depiction of who our people are, a much better depiction of who humanity is in general, and we can move forward in a much better direction. But yes, this is not my opinion. This isn't what I said. This is what the archaeologists said that deeply studied the Mayans. This is what the archaeologists said that deeply studied the Egyptians. This is what the archaeologists said that deeply studied the natives of the Americas. And when you think about how close the Mayans were to the Americas, and when you go to these books, right, because a lot of these books are in the Library of Congress. Like their names are slipping my mind right now, but a lot of these books are in the Library of Congress right now. There are YouTube videos of these people reading these books, showing you page for page what's going on, and you will see that many of the early Spaniards, many of the early depictions and maps even of the Americas were one almost. You know, so when we think about the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Native Americans, the Indians, we must understand that they depict them as almost being of one people. You know, so with that being understood, we can now move forward into, you know, why. Why would they do this? Why would they do this to us? Why lie? Why lie to manipulate the mind? Why brainwash? Why do all this stuff? Why continue to do all this stuff, right? We must understand that division is created because if 45 million so-called black individuals, right? You know, I'm always say so-called because we can't be sure. The African origination theory is something that is not confirmed. You know, the documentation of what I've seen so far is not very compelling. You know, so I'm going to say if the 45 million so-called black individuals were to ever unite, it would disrupt corporate America. It would disrupt the entire economic system. It would be disrupting to the entire world, essentially. You know, I want you to understand that the reason they spend billions of dollars each year to just continue the level of indoctrination that they're doing. They do it through the music. All the record labels are owned by one group. you know, and people hate it when you say that, but that's the truth. All record labels are owned by one group. All athletic teams owned by one group. It's all media owned by one group. It's all the same. I need you to understand that they do not have our best interest. They spend and make billions of dollars off of the indoctrination alone every year. They do that because if 45 million were to unite, it would disrupt the entire corporate America, turning the entire world economic system upside down, disrupting the entire system. So they can never let that happen. So that's why every time we have a rising up, what happens? The leader dies. The leader goes to prison. You know, the story is never ending. You know, that happens every time. So if all, and then here's another thing to think about, right? On a bigger scale, right? If all copper colored, brown and black individuals, all melanated individuals were to ever unite, it would completely reestablish the global economic systems. Let's really take that in for a moment as well. If there were to ever, it would be functioning as if we were back in the times that once existed 15 to 30,000 years ago, where there was an international civilization, not governed by the confines of these lines that we see today. So let's talk about why. You know, why do they do this? You know, let's talk about some other things that you guys are not aware of. You know, I've been talking this whole time about the confines of the lines did not always exist this way. Now let's take a look at something that I guarantee most of you guys have never seen. They've even lied to us about the map of the world. This is, you know, the map of the world right here on the left that we see. This map was established in the 1500s. This map is not correct. This map does what? This map enlarges Europe. It enlarges, you know, the upper parts of the map while making everything else smaller. And, you know, I do have a website for you guys. I have a website for you guys called The True Size Of. And it shows us, you know, how we've been lied to and how the map was configured. And, you know, it will show you essentially the true size of everything, right? It will show you that. So I want you to understand that the map, as you know it, is false. It's false. It's false because what does it do? Right? It enlarges the area that's not big, and it shortens everything else. Let's look at this. What we have here is what we grew up on, right? What all of us have seen, what all of us believe the world to use, which they do, but it's not the truth. The truth is this. This is what the land masses really look like. And, you know, we can obviously tell that South America and Africa, I mean, even Australia are bigger. But let's take a look at Europe. Europe looks way, way bigger in the map that they've gifted to us today. I need you to really pay attention. And this isn't something I made up. You guys can look this up. The map established in the 1500s was false. Propagating his story. That's where it started at. Propagating his story. This is not what's shown today, but this is the truth. This is the truth, and this is the reality of the map in the world and the way that it really appears to be. You know, this is, I believe it's called Peter's map. If you type that in, you'll find it. And if you type, you know, you should be able to find both of them will pop right up. You know, but this is what the world really looks like. You know, so you guys can just see how the mental manipulation started. And this some of you guys will be like, this is just so small. That's not really, that important, and you'll use the excuse, well, they did it because that makes it easier to sell, and all that may very well be true, but another undeniable fact is it is not true. And another undeniable fact is we understand that on a subconscious level, you associate size with power. You associate size with superiority and importance. This is the level of mental manipulation that you got. It's very intricate. I need you guys to understand that. Move forward in that today. Out of all this game that I'm giving, move forward in the fact that it is intricate today. Now, next. Even though you guys claim to hate the man and do all of that stuff, you still use his currency. We still use the currency. We still help the banking systems, enabling them to, the Department of Education to continue the indoctrination of false information. And they just, like I said, they're 100 years ahead. The word psyop has become popular because of the Tates. And that's a great word for everything that's going on. I can't deny it. It's one big psyop. But let's move on, right? Because I introduced a solution to you guys today. Instead of the fiat currency, utilize cryptocurrency. Utilize blockchain technology. Cryptocurrency, I don't care what you heard about it. Go do your own due diligence and go do your own research today. I'm not telling you guys to go follow the traders and all of that stuff and be one of the ones that's trying to turn $1 into $1 million. No, and yes, there are a lot of projects on the cryptocurrency platform and the blockchain technology that are not good. But the good thing about that is anyone can launch something. And the good thing about this is that cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, even XRP listed in this picture right here, I want you to understand that they are better stores of value than this fiat currency. Why is that? Why is that? Because there will only ever be so many Bitcoin. There will only ever be so many Bitcoin in circulation. I need you to understand that. Now, other cryptocurrencies such as Ethereum, they don't necessarily operate on that same logic, but it will never inflate like the dollar does. It will never inflate like the British pound does. It will never inflate like the yen does. Why? Because these currencies are fiats. These currencies within and of itself are not designed for you to win. They are not stores of value. In fact, I think I'm gonna do a live itself, or Luke Belmar even went live about the history of individuals trying to start a currency backed by something and explaining, really breaking down why Bitcoin is valuable. I might even post that in my community tab, but if I don't, I'll go through it myself and give my own perspective and opinion on it. But I want you to understand that cryptocurrency itself is gifted to us. Cryptocurrency itself is the way. Why do you think that the creator of crypto is anonymous? Because if the creator of Bitcoin technology, the creator of Bitcoin itself, were to reveal himself, he would have been murdered. But cryptocurrency is such an interesting tool because it forces the world to level up. It forces the fiat currency to eventually cease to exist in due time. Everyone in due time will realize that cryptocurrency allows you to utilize your own self-governing aspect. You govern yourself. You're in control of your own crypto. You have it on your own. You're not giving it out to be lent out, to be lent out, to be lent out, and getting 0.01% on it. While at the same time, the reserves that exist can just print however much they want to, whenever they want to, and do it however they want to. That's not the condition of these cryptocurrencies, which is why they are a better store of value. Over the next 100 years, they will be a better store of value than fiat currencies that are currently existing, that are not backed by anything. It's just the trust in that government. But based off of everything I just went over, I mean, that's kind of hard to think that you guys operate that way. Now, am I saying that we're living in a 100% crypto world today where you could utilize it 100%? No, not in the aspect of that's all you can have. I suggest you guys to have fiat currency, cryptocurrency, gold, silver, real estate. I mean, I'm doing all of that stuff, but the thing is, We're talking about building on the future. And when we're talking about building on the future, utilize cryptocurrency instead of fiat currency. Instead of the lies, respect your true ancestors. Instead of indulging in the lies, respect your true ancestors. You know, I walk around, right, in my life today. I see so many individuals disrespecting their ancestors, so many individuals making jokes about slavery, which I don't even believe that is our ancestors, but making jokes about slavery, making jokes about all kind of stuff, right? In recent times, in ancient times, past times, whatever, they're not respecting their ancestors. And I don't think that you can get very far without respecting the creator and respecting the ones that paved the way before you, because you must understand, right? For me to even sit here and articulate this message to you right now, my ancestors went through suffering. They went through suffering just for me to even be here to articulate this message to you right now. And I want everyone to pay their respects to that on a daily basis. Throughout the day, just remember that you wouldn't be here today, being able to do the things you can do today, if it weren't for them in past times in your lineage that you don't even know the name of. You can only imagine what it is that they sacrificed, what it is that they went through, what it is that they did. And the reason why they're still benefiting you today and you don't even know it is because the genetic code will always prevail. It's already scientifically proven that DNA can house more information than any computer we could ever build. DNA itself holds, I want to say, over 5 billion years of information. This is already proven stuff. This is not my opinion. You can just look it up on Google. And I want you to understand that it's also proven that your DNA carries memories, right? So the information, the sweat, blood, and tears that your ancestors went through, they burned it into their blood. It's in their blood and it's running through you. So they are running through you. And by disrespecting them, how do you think to unlock that code, to unlock such ideas, to unlock such abilities and rightful heritage is just in your blood? You can't. You can't do that unless you respect and have understanding and find as much out as you can about them as possible. Don't listen to his story. Don't listen to his story. Don't do that. Go and do your own due diligence and find out what it is for yourself. I've done it. You need to do it, and I mean, you'll be thankful that I even told you to do it. So the formation and creation, right, of new tribes must be facilitated to rise again. What do I mean by this? I mean that it's important for us to understand where we came from. It's important for us to understand our ethnic differences, yes, right? All of us did not come from Africa. We must understand that. All of us are not going to be in line with a certain belief system. We must understand that. All of us are not going to be on the same ideas at the same time. We must understand that. But at the same time, we must also understand that we must utilize each other the best that we can. What do I mean by that? Yes, there are ethnic differences. And I see many people going on the internet today, and we hate each other for our ethnic differences, and that's exactly what has been pre-programmed for us to do and think like. But I just showed you guys in prior times, that's not the way that it functioned. The natives weren't in Americas, in North America, hating the Mexicans in Mexico, the Mayans, the Aztecs in Mexico. The Egyptians were not hating the Mayans all the way in South America. The Brazils, it wasn't that way. You know, I can go on and on about it, but I want you to understand that it was not always that way. We have been taught and pre-programmed to think that way. And I want you to also understand that even though we can dive in our genealogy, we can, reestablish old traditions, honor our ancestors, all of that. We must also understand that due to the game that's been played, many of what they fought and died for is gone. The fire took it all. Many of the infrastructure that were in place is gone, right? Many of those things are gone. So I'm not saying that we should jump on the boat of let's let's act like we're living back then, because we're not. I'm saying let's jump on the boat of mutual alliances. Let's jump into the boat of international self-governing systems that will allow us to rise up once again. And understanding that in my ethnic difference, people that know me know where I'm from. So you guys that really know me know what boat I'm in as far as the ethnic difference is concerned. But people also know that I have a lot of stuff in Africa. I have a lot of stuff in Ghana to be exact, in Liberia to be exact. So despite our ethnic difference, just putting all of that aside, we must understand that it is our responsibility to be intellectual. It's our responsibility to think ahead just as the other powers that be are thinking ahead. And so we must also understand at the same time that the best chance that we have to rise up again, the best way for us to do it is reestablishing alliances that existed a long time ago. So no, I don't have time to hate those that have an ethnic difference that's different to mine, because there are not enough individuals that are claiming really truly representing my ethnic individuality in our tribal culture and our system in the way that it was in our history and ancestry for us to even be successful. And the reasoning for that is because the indoctrination is so cold, it's happening to all of us simultaneously. It's going to be somebody that looks like you and your ethnic background and your ethnic difference that belongs in the tribe with you. Long ago, our ancestors were in the same tribe, the same area. It's going to be that very individual that will destroy everything that we've been working for. So because that's happened time and time again, it would be foolish to try to do it all over again. What's the solution? The solution is to unite internationally. I understand there will never be enough in my ethnic group for us to actually be successful. So what do? We unite as it once was, understanding that we must find brothers in each other. The intellectual man is a brother by default. That's a fact. The darker skin tone, intellectual man you found a brother by default, despite the ethnic difference, despite the spiritual ideology difference, despite all of that. We gotta be brothers, because that's the only way that we can even have anything in this world. It's getting to that point. So that's why I went over what it used to be like long ago. That's why I went over and put all of us in the same category, because we were once all in the same category to begin with, regardless. Understands that we must not remain separated, for the confines of these lines are not real. The confines of these lines are not real. I need you guys to take that and embed it into your soul. I need you guys to move forward and understand that the truth seekers, the real truth seekers out there, the real intellectual men out there, the real intellectuals in general, men and women out there, by default, we're already brothers. Despite the ethnic difference, despite you're in Africa, I'm in the Americas, or I'm in the Americas and I'm in North America, you're in South America, regardless to all of that, we have to unite, because the only way through is forward, and the only way forward is for us to understand that we must rebuild something new. So take that with you when you go outside today. Take that with you when you go into your reflection period today, and take that with you when you go and do your own due diligence and research today.